Imagine standing in the middle of a frozen desert. You are surrounded by a white void that stretches for thousands of miles. The temperature is 40 degrees below zero. The wind is howling loud enough to drown out a scream. Now, imagine you are holding a knife, and standing in front of you is a body. If you committed a crime right here, right now, who would come to arrest you? There are no police sirens in the distance. There are no patrol cars. There are no judges, no courthouses, and absolutely no prisons. You are standing on the only continent on Earth that technically belongs to no one, a place larger than Europe, yet absent from the political map of the world. So, does this mean you have found the perfect place to commit a crime? Does this mean you can walk away free? In 2018, a man at a remote Russian outpost tested this theory. He didn't kill for money. He didn't kill for love or revenge. He picked up a knife and stabbed his colleague because of a library book. What happened next wasn't just a crime scene investigation. It was a diplomatic crisis that exposed a gaping hole in international law. It forced powerful nations to ask a question they had been avoiding for 60 years. In a place where no country rules, who actually holds the gavel? Welcome to Juris Paradox. We decode the world's most complex legal anomalies, historical trials, and international loopholes. We explore the gray areas where the law stops making sense. If you want to understand the rules that govern the chaos, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Today, we are traveling to the bottom of the world to answer a simple question. How do you enforce the law in a place where the law doesn't exist? To understand the legal system, you first have to understand the land. Antarctica is unique. It is not a country. It has no government, no parliament, and no indigenous population. It is, by definition, Terra Nullius, Latin for nobody's land. But that doesn't mean people haven't tried to own it. If you look at a political map of Antarctica, you will see it sliced up like a pizza. 7 nations, the United Kingdom, Norway, Australia, France, New Zealand, Chile, and Argentina, have historically claimed ownership of these massive slices of ice. They drew lines on the map and said, "This belongs to us." But there is a problem, a very big problem. The rest of the world, including superpowers like the United States, Russia, and China, looked at those lines and essentially said, no, they do not recognize any of these claims. As far as the United States is concerned, the Australian slice is not Australian. It is international space, just like the moon or the high seas. This disagreement could have led to World War III. Imagine the chaos of different nations fighting over territory that is believed to hold massive reserves of oil and minerals beneath the ice. So in 1959, the world powers came together to sign one of the most brilliant, yet confusing, legal documents in history, the Antarctic Treaty. The treaty was a masterclass in kicking the can down the road. It didn't solve the issue of ownership. It simply pressed the pause button. Article 4 of the treaty states that no new claims can be made, and existing claims are essentially frozen. It turned the entire continent into a scientific preserve. No military bases, no nuclear testing, no mining, just science. It sounded perfect. It created a utopia of peace and research. But the lawyers who wrote the treaty made one critical oversight. They wrote rules for nations, but they forgot to write clear rules for people. They didn't anticipate that one day, thousands of people would live there. They didn't account for the fact that scientists get lonely, they get drunk, and sometimes they get violent. And when human nature takes over in a place with no government, the legal system crashes. The spoiler stabbing. Let's go back to that stabbing in 2018. This case is the perfect example of what happens when the legal void meets human emotion. We are at the Bellingshausen Station, a Russian research base on King George Island. It is a bleak, isolated outpost. The sun barely rises in the winter. The wind never stops. Living there were 2 men, Sergei Savitsky, an electrical engineer, and Oleg Beloguzov, a welder. They were not strangers. They had spent 4 harsh years working together in deep isolation. They ate together, worked together, and suffered the cold together. But isolation does strange things to the human mind. It creates a pressure cooker. To pass the time, Sergei loved to read. The station had a small library, and books were his only escape from the white wasteland outside. But Oleg was bored, and Oleg found a cruel way to entertain himself. Every time Sergei started a new book, Oleg would spoil the ending. He would walk by and whisper, "The killer is the gardener," or "The main character dies at the end." Day after day, book after book. It sounds like a petty annoyance, something you'd laugh about back home. But in the isolation of Antarctica, petty annoyances turn into murderous rage. On October 9th, 2018, Sergei snapped. He marched into the station's canteen, grabbed a sharp kitchen knife, and lunged at Oleg. He stabbed him in the chest. Oleg collapsed. He was bleeding out on the floor of the cafeteria. He was airlifted to a hospital in Chile, and miraculously, he survived. But for the station commander, the nightmare had just begun. He had a man who had just attempted murder, but he had no police to call. He had no handcuffs, and most importantly, he had no jail. Antarctica has no holding cells. You cannot simply call 911. So, the commander had to improvise. They grabbed Sergei and dragged him to the only building that had a lockable door and wasn't essential for survival. The church. The Trinity Church is a small, wooden Russian Orthodox church perched on the edge of the ice cliffs. For 10 days, Sergei Savitsky was imprisoned in the house of God. He sat alone, surrounded by icons of saints and the smell of incense, listening to the wind howl outside, waiting for a plane to arrive to deport him. This incident was funny to the media, the book-ending stabbing. But legal scholars weren't laughing. It proved that if a crime happens, the system is just a station commander making things up as they go along. And Sergei's case was easy because both men were Russian. But what happens when the victim and the killer are from different countries? The poisoning of Rodney Marks. If Sergei's case was a legal headache, the death of Rodney Marks was a full-blown legal migraine. Rodney Marks was a brilliant young Australian astrophysicist. In the year 2000, he was stationed at the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station. This is important. The station is run by the United States. However, the physical land the station sits on is claimed by New Zealand, and Rodney himself was a citizen of Australia. One night, Rodney began to feel sick. He went to the station doctor complaining of stomach pains and vision problems. His condition deteriorated rapidly. Within 24 hours, Rodney Marks died. The cause of death wasn't hypothermia or an accident. It was methanol poisoning. Someone, or something, had poisoned him. Now look at the mess. You have an Australian body, on an American base, on New Zealand land. Who investigates? The New Zealand coroner claimed jurisdiction because the death happened in the Ross Dependency, the slice of Antarctica, they claim. They wanted to send police detectives to the South Pole to interview witnesses and gather evidence. But the United States does not recognize New Zealand's claim to that land. To the U.S., the South Pole is international territory. They essentially blocked the New Zealand police from conducting the proper investigation on the base. The witnesses, the other scientists, scattered back to their home countries before they could be properly interviewed. The body sat in a freezer for months. Evidence was lost. Documents were withheld. To this day, we still don't know for sure if Rodney Marks took the methanol by mistake, or if he was murdered. The legal confusion allowed the truth to disappear into the snow. The coroner's report officially states the cause of death is unknown, primarily because the jurisdictional fighting made a real investigation impossible. It is the perfect example of the Juris Paradox. In a place where everyone claims jurisdiction, nobody actually has it. The legal solution. So, is there a solution? How do we stop Antarctica from becoming the Wild West? Since the land belongs to no one, international lawyers rely on a concept called flag state jurisdiction, or extraterritoriality. Think of it like a bubble. Since the ground beneath your feet has no law, you carry your country's law with you. It follows you like a shadow. If you are a U.S. citizen in Antarctica, you are legally standing in the United States. If you commit a crime, U.S. Marshals can fly down and arrest you. And yes, there's a U.S. Marshal specifically assigned to Antarctica, though they are rarely there. If you are on a Japanese ship in Antarctic waters, you are in Japan. If you are on a German research base, you are in Germany. This is why Sergei Savitsky was eventually flown back to St. Petersburg and placed under house arrest in Russia. He wasn't tried by an Antarctic court. He was tried by a Russian court under Russian law for a crime committed 10,000 miles away from the Russian border. But this system relies on cooperation. It relies on the countries agreeing to play nice. As the Rodney Marks case showed us, when countries stop being polite, the system crumbles and justice fails. Conclusion. Antarctica serves as a fascinating mirror for our civilization. We tend to think of the law as something solid, like gravity or rocks. We think if we break a rule, the consequences are automatic. But the frozen continent proves that the law is just a collective imagination. It is a story we all agree to tell. Take away the government, take away the borders, and take away the police, and suddenly, the difference between a murderer and a free man comes down to which flag is flying above the building you are standing in. For now, the peace in Antarctica holds. But as resources become scarce and countries begin to hide the minerals beneath the ice, one has to wonder, how long until the Cold War turns hot? That's it for today. I will come with more videos like this. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss amazing mind-bending legal concepts. This is Juris Paradox. Class dismissed.